So are you ready to like really dive deep into raised bed gardening?
Yeah.
Have you been wondering if they're really worth all the hype?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And like especially with lumber prices going crazy, what are the best materials to use these days?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And of course, the big question everyone wants to know is what can I actually grow in these things?
Right.
So you sent us some articles from Gardener's Supply and Gardenery,
Mm-hmm.
plus this awesome DIY video from Homestead and Chill, and we are ready to dig in.
I love it.
It seems like everyone's talking about raised beds these days.
It's a hot topic for sure.
For good reason, too. I mean, one article highlighted bigger harvests,
Right.
better soil control, and even like a longer growing season.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's a win-win-win in my book.
Absolutely. And I think what's cool is there's not just practical,
Right.
raised beds can be like stunning landscape features.
Yeah.
Those ones in the Gardenery article were practically works of art,
Oh, yeah.
blending beauty and function seamlessly.
I was so impressed by that.
It's inspiring.
So that's about more than just like growing veggies, right?
Totally.
It's like elevating your whole outdoor space.
Absolutely.
Which makes me think, what are your goals for your garden?
That is the question.
Do you want to maximize yield in a tiny backyard?
Yeah,
Create a show-stopping focal point?
that's always fun.
Or just make bending over a little easier on the back?
Let's be honest, that's a big part of it,
Right?
especially as we get older.
So true.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the options for raised beds are a little overwhelming.
I know, right?
DIY kits, cedar composite, even metal.
So many choices.
Where do we even begin?
Okay, so first, take a deep breath.
Okay.
It's not as daunting as it seems.
Okay.
Focus on soil depth first.
Sweat up.
If you're building over like less than ideal soil,
Mm-hmm.
you'll need a deeper bed to give those roots room to thrive.
That makes sense.
Gardener Supply actually has this cool soil calculator on their website.
Oh, really?
It's super helpful.
Ooh, I'm bookmarking that one.
It's a lifesaver.
Now, something that really stood out to me in that Homestead and Chill video was all about like chicken-proofing their beds.
Yes, the chicken wars.
I'm picturing you out there wielding hardware cloth against rogue squirrels.
Oh, yeah. Pest protection is crucial.
For sure.
And hardware cloth is like the gold standard for a durable barrier.
Right.
Both Gardener Supply and that video recommended it.
Makes sense.
It's the way to go.
So we've got the why and the what kind of sorted.
We're getting there.
Now it's all about the where.
Location, location, location.
Gardener Supply is pretty adamant about sunlight and drainage.
Right.
Those are like non-negotiables.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
But Gardenery adds another layer.
Oh, yeah.
Convenience.
Yeah.
Imagine like stepping out your door and snipping fresh herbs right there.
Oh, my gosh. That's the dream.
Right.
Makes those weeknight dinners a lot easier.
Okay, now you're making me hungry.
Sorry.
Let's build this thing.
Let's do it.
That Homestead and Chill video broke the whole building process down step by step.
I love those guys. They're so good at explaining things.
Even had a tip about using 8-foot boards to like minimize cuts.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Plus that hidden 3 inches thing. Brilliant.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to save money on lumber.
Oh, for sure.
And speaking of saving money,
Yeah.
don't skimp on the soil.
Okay.
Gardenery was very adamant about investing in a high-quality mix.
Makes sense.
Think of it as the foundation for your garden's success.
The foundation.
Yeah.
They weren't fans of using filler materials either, were they?
Nope. It's all about giving those roots the best possible environment.
Right.
Remember, we're creating a mini ecosystem here.
A mini ecosystem. I love that.
It's true.
All right, so we've got our bed built, filled with this glorious soil.
I can smell it now.
Now for the really fun part.
Let's plant something.
Planting.
Yes.
Gardener Supply had some really interesting tips on intensive planting.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's all about like maximizing space without overcrowding.
Right? Exactly. And Gardenery took that even a step further with their concept of interplanting.
Interplanting.
Imagine mixing herbs, veggies, even flowers
Whoa.
in one beautiful, productive space.
Okay, stop. I'm already overwhelmed.
But it's a good overwhelm.
This is amazing. I'm already picturing my tomato plants like climbing trellises towards the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Both Gardener Supply and Gardenery were big fans of vertical gardening.
Absolutely. It's a great way to maximize space.
It is.
And once everything is planted,
Yeah.
don't forget the maintenance must-haves.
Okay, what are those?
Consistent watering, a little weeding,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a mid-season fertilizer boost.
Okay.
That's all it takes to keep those plants thriving.
My head is spinning with ideas.
I know, right?
It's just the beginning, right?
Oh, we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore.
Like what?
From specific planting techniques to like creative design ideas. But first, let's pause for a moment.
Sure.
What's standing out to you from all this information?
Honestly, I'm most excited about that intensive planting concept.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Imagine how much you could grow in a small space
Yeah,
if you really got strategic about it.
it's amazing.
Plus, that hidden 3-inch trick is going to save me a ton of headaches when I build my beds.
Smart thinking. What about you? What's got you fired up?
Well, for me,
Yeah.
I think the emphasis on soil quality is really important.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so easy to overlook that, but it's the foundation for a truly thriving garden.
Couldn't agree more.
And with raised beds, you have complete control over that foundation.
Exactly.
You're not at the mercy of like whatever soil you inherited.
That's such a good point.
Right.
Yeah, it's empowering.
It is incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the basics, but honestly, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
It has.
How do we even choose what to grow in these amazing raised beds?
Don't worry, we'll tackle that next. But first, let's talk about some of those incredible designs we saw
Oh, yeah.
in that Gardenery article. Remember those multi-level beds with built-in seating?
And trellises.
And trellises? Talking about blending form and function.
I know, and they even had a raised bed with a water feature.
I know, right?
How cool is that?
So cool.
Those pictures were serious garden goals.
Totally.
And it wasn't just about aesthetics either.
Right.
They were using like those different levels to create microclimates
Oh, yeah.
for different plants.
I love that.
Like tucking shade-loving herbs under a taller trellis of tomatoes.
Genius.
Genius.
It really is.
Okay, I'm officially inspired.
Good.
But with all these amazing materials out there,
I know.
cedar composite metal, even stone,
So many choices.
what's speaking to your inner gardener?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I know, right?
I'm drawn to the classic look of cedar.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems so naturally at home in a garden. You know?
Right.
Plus, it smells incredible.
It does.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mm.
It's got that like rustic charm. But I'm also intrigued by like the durability of those metal beds.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the Corten steel.
That's a good one.
It develops that gorgeous patina over time.
It does.
Plus, didn't they mention that metal warms up faster in the spring?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
Which is a big plus for those of us in colder climates.
for sure.
So it's like it becomes a part of the landscape.
It really does.
Each material has its own unique benefits.
Absolutely.
It all comes down to personal preference and what fits like your climate and your budget.
Exactly.
Speaking of budget, that Homestead and Chill video
Oh, yeah.
made building a raised bed look like a weekend project.
They make it look so easy.
Did you catch those tips about using 8-foot boards to minimize cuts?
Yes. And that extra reinforcement for the long sides.
Yes.
I was taking notes.
Me too.
That video made DIY seem so approachable.
Totally. And they didn't shy away from those like important details either,
Right?
like adding hardware cloth for gopher protection.
Oh, crucial in some areas.
Right.
Absolutely. Those little critters can wipe out a garden in no time.
I know.
Hardware cloth is like creating a fortress for your veggies.
I love that visual.
It's a good one.
Okay, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the how of raised beds,
We have.
but let's get to the what.
Okay, the big question.
What can we actually grow in these things?
Right.
The possibilities seem endless.
They really do.
I'm already picturing like rows of colorful lettuces,
Oh, yeah.
fragrant basil, and those cascading tomatoes
Oh, my goodness.
from the Gardenery article.
Yes.
Remember those beauties?
Oh, absolutely. And don't forget about herbs.
Yes, the herbs.
Imagine having fresh rosemary, thyme, and oregano.
Oh my.
Just steps away from your kitchen.
Talk about elevating your cooking game.
Right.
It's like having a mini farmer's market right outside your door.
Exactly.
But with all these options,
I know.
how do we even begin to choose?
Well, first, think about what you and your family actually like to eat.
That's a good point.
No point in growing a ton of kale if nobody's going to eat it.
Very true.
Right.
And what about like space considerations?
Yeah, that's a good point.
We've talked about intensive planting
Mm-hmm.
and interplanting,
Right.
but are some plants better suited for raised beds than others?
That's a great question. Some plants, like root vegetables,
Okay.
might need a deeper bed, while others, like herbs or lettuces, can thrive in shallower beds.
Okay.
It's all about matching the plant to the right environment.
So we need to do a little research
Always a good idea.
before we just start throwing seeds in the dirt.
Exactly. But that's part of the fun of gardening, isn't it?
Is?
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
And there's always something new to discover.
You're so right. This whole deep dive has been a journey of discovery for me.
Me too.
I'm learning so much.
But before we get too carried away with planting plants,
Okay.
I think it's important to acknowledge another aspect of raised bed gardening.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
It's about more than just the practicalities of growing food, you know? It's about the connection to nature, the sense of accomplishment,
Yes.
and the sheer joy of getting your hands dirty and watching something grow.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
It's magical.
There's something incredibly satisfying about nurturing a plant from a seed to harvest.
I agree.
It's a reminder that we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
And in a world that's increasingly fast-paced and technology-driven,
Oh my gosh.
gardening offers a way to slow down, connect with the earth, and appreciate the simple things in life.
Beautifully said.
I'm feeling a renewed sense of appreciation for the whole gardening process.
Good.
But with all this information swirling around,
I know it's a lot.
I think it's time for a quick recap.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways
Mm-hmm.
our listeners should remember?
Great idea. So
Good.
first, remember that choosing the right raised bed material
Yeah,
depends on your budget, your aesthetic preferences, and your climate.
and don't skimp on the soil.
No skimping.
Invest in a high-quality mix. That will give your plants the best possible foundation for growth.
Couldn't agree more.
And when it comes to location,
Okay.
choose a spot that gets plenty of sunlight
Yeah.
and that's convenient for you to access.
Make it a place you'll actually enjoy spending time in.
Yes.
Right.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
remember to have fun.
Yes.
Gardening should be a joyful experience.
Absolutely.
Embrace the process.
Mhm.
Experiment.
Yes. And don't be afraid to get creative.
After all,
It's all about creating a garden that brings you joy.
beautifully said. So with those words of encouragement,
We'll leave you to ponder your next steps on your raised bed gardening journey.
but before you go, we want to leave you with a question to ponder.
Okay. I like it.
Now that you've explored this whole world of raised beds,
Mhm.
from materials and soil to design and all these planting possibilities,
Right.
what's the one thing you're going to do differently in your garden next year?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. It really encourages our listener to take all this information we talked about
Yeah.
and really make it their own.
Yeah.
Because ultimately there's no right or wrong way to garden right.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Right, for your unique space,
Your goals.
your style.
Your style.
Exactly. And that's what makes gardening such a rewarding journey.
I agree.
It's a constant process of learning and adapting and experimenting.
Mhm.
And even when things don't go exactly as planned,
Right.
there's always something to learn from the experience.
Always. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Ah, thanks.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into raised bed gardening.
It's been fun.
We hope you're leaving feeling inspired,
Yes.
informed, and ready to get your hands dirty.
Absolutely. Happy growing, everyone.